'Member this old bonnet? Hey, it's me. Everybody's favorite, Abigail Williams. No, nobody really likes that bitch, let's be honest. She really caused a lot of trouble for a lot of people. So I wanted to capture the light just because it's starting to get really cold, and I know that this is a dark and spooky topic, but I have to run to rehearsal, and it's extremely spooky optics still. I mean, we still have the autumn leaves changing, and I wanted to go deep in the woods, but this is what's good, y'all. This is what's good. This is what I've got. I mean, I pulled this puritanical ensemble together from my basement in like, I don't know, 6 minutes, because I gotta get to it. So utilizing the last of the sun before I go do more theatrical fun at rehearsal. And first of all, today is National Free Thinking Day, and it apparently started kind of in honor of the absolute mind-baffling, jaw-dropping lunacy that was the Salem witch trials. And I myself got to file Abigail Williams in one of my best characters. And gosh, it was crazy, and my gallbladder was failing me during the show, so I was just like puking green backstage, and people were like, wow, your rage seemed very real. You seemed to feel all of it very deeply. And I was like, yes, I was also extremely sick, so that helped with my gaunt sort of I am just consumed by vengeance and finger pointing rage. So that's that page in my life. And so now I'm going to explain some of the strife caused by those crazy gals who just felt the need to blame their pals and neighbors for being in cahoots with the devil himself. No big deal, just ruin their lives and such. So I wrote this for today about National Free Thinking Day, and it urges you to use your noggin, not go clogging the drain with a bunch of nonsense. So let's do it, because I got to go do other things. So here it is. Today's poem is called, "Let's Not Start Biting Off Chickens' Heads Now, Shall We?" Oh, what mania was caused by young ladies inanely flailing about and spouting off about the devil. Did they really revel by the crackling fire in the woods and get discovered getting up to no good? Or did they merely believe they were doing as they should to rid the community of any possible trace of evil while creating immunity for themselves and those they favored? Few were spared in their devil-may-care damning spree. One of the saddest such stories to me is that of Giles Corey, who abhorred these crazy children out for blood and refused to sit in court only to have mud flung in his reputation. Rather than take part in the desolation of all he held dear, he flatly rejected a trial which he knew would be steered by fear and mob mentality, and opted instead for a fate of absolute brutality. It was a grisly end for a man, though many commended his refusal to take the stand. He wasn't a man with a sparkling reputation to begin with. Before the fits of the girls began, he'd been accused of beating one of his farm hands to death, and John Proctor testified to hearing him admit it. The violent act only got him a fine and a slap on the wrist, but it cost him some credibility and many friends. Still, he would not bend to pleading. Loved ones who told him to run or just plead guilty. He made a statement against their filthy accusations by declining to defend his honor, for he knew he would not be exonerated, and he was then stripped naked and slowly crushed beneath an unimaginable weight consisting of boulders piled on his shoulders, then chest, then legs, until there was nothing left. Most of the accused were abused and bereft of all human necessities. They were snatched ruthlessly from a society that they had compiled with piously. Compiled, help me, words in my brain. Most of the accused were abused and bereft of all human necessities. They were snatched ruthlessly from a society that they had complied with piously. It's too bad there were few advancements in psychiatry, because any semi-sane person could see this finger-pointing spree acted out maliciously was sheer insanity. All those deemed witches were handled cruelly and heavy-handedly, while the accusers took the stand commandingly and were treated as small-time celebrities. The first of these in Salem were little Betty, the 9-year-old daughter of the local Reverend Samuel Parris, and his niece Abigail. Though the tale told by Arthur Miller of this ruthless second-hand killer was one of romance, there's very little chance any of that particular drama There's very little chance any of that particular drama occurred. Miller blurred the story a bit to add motivation for her hysterical fits. But this bit is unlikely, for she was 11 at the time, and Proctor, the first male accused as a witch, was at the ripe age of 60 at the time. Still, there are interviews that Miller had it in his mind there had been an affair, as there is written court records stating that Abigail tried to hit his wife, Elizabeth, and admitted to hating her. Though, of course, the devil was blamed for these shameful emotions. The notion that spectral evidence was allowed in many of these cases puts logic back several paces. Traces of these horrors are still echoing within the families of those involved in the calamity to this day. Reparations were only officially attempted to be made in 1957, when Massachusetts officials issued apologies. It's mind-boggling that it took so long to admit how hard these generations were hit by this reckless, unwarranted objective set by literal children who, after a time, were not even selective in their attempts to destroy so many innocent lives. Wives, husbands, children, and even dogs were not spared if they dared to so much as look at these spiteful girls sideways. They put on these outrageous displays of affliction, and it somehow led to the convictions of dozens of ordinary townspeople. Such absurdity was unequaled, and it spread from puritanical church steeple to steeple, sounding the bells that another poor soul was being labeled a product of hell. The spell of inculpating with no discretion and demanding confessions at the cost of all credibility being lost, with the only alternative being death, was a sickness that spread so rapidly it was a wonder there was anyone left at all. No one was appalled or put a stop to it when their own neighbors were ruthlessly starved and hung. They flung women into raging waters as a test to see if they had powers. Rationality was devoured by a frenzy of nonsense and bloodlust. Dogs were fed strange cakes made of dust, ashes, rye, and the urine of those facing trial. As the young girls reviled these poor souls, the jury was sold on their guilt if the dog so much as tilted its head in a strange manner. Banners and other posts were placed on the houses of those jailed so that they were sure to fail in society even when they were released. This snarling beast of herd mentality, without the least bit of consideration for cogent thinking, would see an elderly, impoverished woman hanged without so much as blinking. Everyone in the town with half a brain had a sinking feeling and tried to keep to themselves, but the horrors would delve deeper and deeper into absurdity. Even the most upstanding and respect-worthy citizens weren't safe, let alone those who had anything remotely free-thinking or outside the box to say. The first woman to meet the horrible fate of this hysteria was Bridget Bishop, who was judged even before these vengeful girls budged everyone's sensibilities. She was widely known in the community as a slattern, in other words, a woman of loose morals who burned with passion and enjoyed a good drink instead of sinking down to her knees every Sunday to enjoy the church chorals. She, of course, didn't stand a chance and was yelled at in court for dancing with the devil, and even the unsettling condemnation of bewitching her third husband to death previously. These Puritans used their judgments and religious zeal seethingly. No one was allowed to even grieve these people without the threat of being jailed or beaten unforgivingly. A scary time indeed. We still need these reminders to determine opinions through facts and not unpack our grievances or anger on unsuspecting humans or put them in danger on a whim. We must look within and deduce actual truth, not just skim the surface or believe well-acted spoofs. I got my sources for these truths from history.com. just search Salem Witch Trials. Another website called theverybesttop10.com. Theverybesttop10.com. Interesting facts about the Salem Witch Trials. And also from mentalfloss.com. Salem Witch Trials. Facts. So that's a lot to unpack, and gosh, I could have gone on and on and on. I studied about pretty much every character who's been historically written about when I played the crazed Abigail herself, and I just have a wealth of knowledge about this topic, but I gotta hop over to the 1930s now and go get on a train. There's another clue about the play I'm in. So that was one just about pain and the insane ripple effect and trickle-down effect of neglecting logic. So there's that from my puritanical pockets. No, we all know that's not really me, but really glad I found this bonnet. I wore it on another poem that was about doing Abigail as a scene in acting school, and then I had it in the most illogical place, speaking of logic, with like bathing suits, but somehow I managed to use my witchy powers to track it down. So yeah, sorry to be in a rush about it. I really do feel a great sense of reverence about this piece of history, but I gotta go jump into another bit of history, and her story. That's what I prefer to call it. What about the her story? Hugh womankind, Hugh womans, humans and Hugh womans and Hugh everyone's. Let's use our noggins. Let's use our thinkers, shall we? And not go sinking people in water to determine if they have powers, because that's crazy. So it's getting cold. I gotta go be bold and be another type of character. And you can be damn sure I'm gonna bring you more poetry. Okay, so that's enough of me, Abigail Williams. And I'll use my thumbs and my fingers and my thinkers to bring you more, for sure, tomorrow. Happy spooky season. Have reverence for those lost to people not thinking. Okay. Kind of a crazy one. Crazy energy, bouncing all over. But it's okay. 'Cause I'm doing it every single day. So here's to more to come.